Power, money, secrets. For years, the story of Jeffrey Epstein has really been defined by what we don't know. But, that might be about to change. A new law is forcing a major showdown over the release of the so-called Epstein Files, and the deadline? Well, it's coming up fast.
So, we hear this term, the Epstein Files, thrown around all the time, right? But what does it actually mean? What is in this massive trove of documents that has some of the most powerful people in the world, well, let's just say they're on edge? To really wrap your head around the scale of this, you have to start with this number, 300 gigabytes. That's the amount of data the Justice Department and the FBI have collected on Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, that's not a file cabinet. That's a mountain, a digital mountain.
Okay, so if the files are a mountain, what kind of secrets are buried inside? Let's take a closer look.
To put it simply, this is pretty much the government's entire case file. Everything the FBI and the DOJ gathered while they were investigating Epstein's criminal network, from the very beginning in the early 2000s, right up until his death.
And what's inside is an incredible mix of really sensitive stuff. We're talking financial records that might finally unravel the mystery of Epstein's wealth. There are interviews with witnesses and victims, which is obviously crucial. You've got communications with foreign governments, thousands of photos, and this is a big one. Records from a money laundering investigation that we didn't even know about, one that was running at the same time as the sex crimes probe. That could open up a whole new can of worms.
And if you want to know just how sensitive this all is, get this. The FBI actually launched what it called a special redaction project. They pulled in almost 1,000 agents and staff, and they racked up $1 million overtime bill just to go through and prepare these documents. That tells you just how explosive they think the contents are.
So why is this mountain of data so explosive? Well, it all comes down to the company Epstein kept. You see, his influence wasn't just criminal. It was woven deep into the fabric of the world's most powerful institutions.
The foundation of all of Epstein's power was Wall Street. And these weren't just some casual connections. We're talking giants like JP Morgan and Bear Stearns who gave him financial legitimacy. And his access to elite hedge funds like Renaissance Technologies helped him build that mysterious fortune, even after the first allegations against him came out.
This email, wow. It's to the office of billionaire Leon Black, and it really reveals Epstein's true role. He wasn't just a money guy. He presented himself as this manipulative advisor, a controlling figure, or, as he put it, a daddy to some of the richest men on the planet.
And his network, it stretched way beyond finance. Photos from his estate show him with this staggering lineup of global figures, from presidents to tech titans to royalty. Every single one of these connections represents a potential secret, which is exactly why the contents of those 300 gigabytes are so politically charged.
And that brings us right up to today, this high-stakes political battle over what we, the public, will actually get to see. This isn't just about the past. It's a fight that's happening right now.
So, after a ton of public pressure, Congress actually acted, and they acted decisively. They passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act almost unanimously, and this law sets a hard deadline, December 19th. That's the day the Attorney General has to hand over everything.
But here's the catch. Here's the tension. The law demands maximum transparency, but it also creates some potential escape hatches. Information can be held back for national security or, and this is the big one, for ongoing investigations. And a lot of critics are worried that those loopholes are big enough to drive a truck through.
The lawmakers who wrote the bill, they're on high alert. They've made it very clear that any redactions have to be justified in writing to Congress. As the co-sponsor, Ro Khanna, put it, we will be watching this closely.
And here's the specific political fear that experts have been raising. At President Trump's direction, the Justice Department recently started some new investigations into Democrats who are linked to Epstein. The concern is that these brand new probes could be used as the reason to redact information, potentially protecting the president or others, all under that ongoing investigation loophole.
So where does this leave us? Well, the clock is ticking. Let's take a look at what happens next in this whole saga.
All right, you're going to want to keep your eye on the calendar. The law was signed in November, but the really big day is December 19th. That's the deadline for the files to get to Congress. But there's another front to watch, too. In January, a totally separate lawsuit has a court hearing, and that could potentially open another door for these records to finally see the light of day.
Which, of course, brings us to the final, lingering question at the absolute heart of this entire affair. We have a mountain of secrets, and we have a law that demands they be revealed. But when that deadline finally hits, are we going to get transparency, or are we just going to get a mountain of black ink?